This summer, we all need to safely share our New Jersey roads to help prevent injuries and deaths. Drivers, please obey speed limits, use turn signals, and check your blind spots. Pedestrians, please follow traffic signals and signs. Make eye contact with drivers before crossing intersections, and walk facing traffic if sidewalks aren't available. Cyclists, wear helmets and reflective gear. Follow all rules and ride in the same direction as traffic. And everyone, never drive, walk, or bike distracted or impaired. Stay safe this summer. Brought to you by the Brain Injury Alliance of New Jersey.
Welcome to the Oh Hell No podcast, where I, Keisha Nicole, delivers a daily dose of passion, purpose, and struggle by interviewing people who are living their best life doing what they love. Here on this podcast, every Oh Hell No moment serves a purpose. Now let's get started with the show. So welcome to another episode of the Oh Hell No podcast. Tonight I have Allison Garrett. She is a best-selling author, a speaker, and an entrepreneur. Thank you for being here, Allison. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Oh, good. So you have a very interesting story, and I want to read this piece, and then I want to start with my first question. This is just a little bit from your own bio.
Okay.
So, born to teenage parents and ending up being adopted, I lived a life plagued with abuse, addiction, and crime. With a criminal history, low self-esteem, and no one to guide me, I went to prison and developed my own method of recovery by redefining success. Through persistence and determination, I refused to allow my ex-offender status to define me. Love that, first of all. So with that being said, as a young person, growing up with the situation that you had, do you ever remember dreaming of a way out of, where you were, or having a career, or seeing yourself as something different?
Ooh, yes. I think I've always seen myself as something different, but never really grabbing a hold to it. I think a lot of my gifts and talents that showed up when I was younger, that showed my interest in being an entrepreneur without even realizing it, it was like I was born with it. So I feel like that was the piece of me that was always searching and knowing that more was available, because I had a feeling with it from everything that I had done.
Wow. Can you share one thing that was very entrepreneurial-like as a child that you remember that you did, and now you can kind of connect the dots?
Oh, gosh, yes. So I first started, everybody had penny candy back in the day. Mm-hmm. And I would always go to the store, walk across the street to the store. I would buy all this penny candy, and then I would split it up and bag it and then sell it to the kids at school. And then once I started doing that, then my dad kind of set up a little storefront outside of the house that was like my own candy store, where he went to, the supplier and bought all the candy. So people would come and ring the doorbell, and I would come out and I would sell candy. And it's kind of been me trying to sell something ever since.
Right. Oh, wow. That's so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So take us to the last time you got in trouble and ended up in a bad situation. What happened inside you, or what made you say, that's it, I'm going to change my life?
I think I was tired. I think the moment that it snapped for me, it was while I was in court and I was being sentenced. And at that moment, I knew that I had lost control of my life. And I had obviously lost control of it prior to that. But I think a lot of times we're not ready to admit that we no longer have control. So I gave up at that point, trying to control every situation and try to figure everything out and do it a new way. So I was tired. I was tired of living below what I believe to be my potential.
Okay. Now, she has two businesses that I know of. There might be another one in the works. Who knows, right? But did you start your spa business first, or did you start the coaching program first?
I started the spa business because that was my way to really earn a living. So I'm like, what can I do where I could really earn a living? So I started just doing things on my own, getting some friends together, having them get friends together. And it became really successful in a short period of time. So from that, people would always ask, like, how did you do it? And all of the things that we say that we don't have, to start a business, I didn't have. I didn't have money. I didn't have credit. I didn't have a lot of support. So people were surprised with everything that I had been through. And then that's how I started to get into the coaching. I'm like, I'm teaching women how to get out of their mental prison so that they can have a successful life and career or business.
Okay. So guys, the business is called Pamper Perfect Mobile Spa. It operates in 11 U.S. markets and Canada. And basically it's a mobile spa, right? So if you want someone to come and give you some services, I guess you make an appointment and her company shows up and takes care of you.
Yeah.
Now, starting this business, what would you say was the hardest part of getting it going? The fact that you didn't have money, credit, and support, because that's a lot of, I think, what we face as aspiring entrepreneurs.
I think the hardest part was actually getting people to believe in the idea. So I started to share it, of course, the people that we share things with first, family and friends, and they really didn't see the value in it. They couldn't see, how people are not going to spend that much, for a manicure and a pedicure. And at that time, when I started, I was saying $50 for a mani-pedi, and I come on location. They were like, yeah, nobody's going to pay that. You can go around the corner and get it for $35. So I think that was the hardest part, is being discouraged about it even being as good of an idea as I thought it was. But I hung in there, and it proved to I just had to start talking to some different people.
Yes. So was that something that you learned? Did you pick up that skill, or were you bringing in other people to do the actual manicure and pedicures?
I learned how to do nails myself. So I had already had the skill. So starting out, it was just me. And then as more people knew about it, they would want more people to participate. So I couldn't do it by myself. So they would say, I got 6 girls, we all want manis and pedis. So I'll just recruit someone else to help me do the parties. And then they started asking for massages, and then they started asking in different areas. So that's kind of how it grew. But yeah, I started out working the business and working on the business at the same time.
So when you were building that business, what did you have to learn to do, and what were you able to outsource?
Let me see. I had to learn how to do everything at first.
Yeah, I know, because that's the thing. I have a business as well, right? And I was looking into getting some help with something, and when they gave me the price, I almost fell off my chair. I was like, "What? Let me call you back."
Well, you know what ended up happening? I think I made a list, and this is something that I tell people to do as well. So it's like you make a list with 3 columns in it. First column is everything that you can do all day long, like even the talent, all the things you're great at. If you're great at marketing or Instagram posts or keeping the books or, all the things that kind of go with it, you write in that one, and, in that first column, all the things you love. Then in the middle, things that I don't love, I'll do them if I really have to. But if I came into the idea of outsourcing it, then I would gladly do it, because either I don't know how to do it or I hate it. And then there's the things on the last side where, you just don't know how to do them at all, or you really can't do it to the degree of you're procrastinating and can't make it happen. And then you kind of start filling those buckets in little by little. But yeah, it's hard starting out, but when you realize that if you don't duplicate yourself in certain areas of the business, you'll never be able to make more than what, than where you start.
Right. So what were you able to outsource? What was the first thing you were able to outsource?
The calls and the emails.
Okay.
So the first thing that I was able to outsource was somebody answering the phone and responding to the inquiries, because that was like that became the most important thing. Once we would ask people, why did you choose us? They would say, oh, because you responded so quickly. So that became a priority. And if I'm doing all these other things, I couldn't necessarily respond as quickly. And that's obviously what people loved about the service.
That's a really good point too. I like that you said that was something that you noticed was important and you made that a priority.
Yes.
So you said that the business started to turn a profit pretty quickly. So I was going to ask you, how long did it take you to make a profit on that business venture?
Fairly quickly, probably. I mean, because it was mobile and I didn't really have any overhead, I was able to reinvest right away. So any money that I had coming in, I could put most of it back into the business. But I would say probably 2 years for me to really operate it independently and have some systems in place.
I love that you said that, because people seem to think that, starting a business and getting it going, it's supposed to happen in like 6 months.
No. I mean, unless you happen to hit on something that's really hot and in demand immediately, definitely. But, just over time, it takes time to make those connections and to tweak some of the things. Like, you're going to start out wanting to do everything, thinking you're good at everything. And then those 2 years kind of give you that period to narrow it down, and then you'll streamline the process where, okay, now I'm not packing a bag every single night. I've learned how to pack enough, small kits for the week. So just go grab this basket and go, as opposed to taking all the time to do it. So, that time is necessary so that you learn what to do, what not to do, and how to do it better.
Yes. So what do you struggle with today as an entrepreneur? What keeps you up at night?
I don't know. I think it really is almost the dreams of what's coming next, like seeing so many new things with the business, even with everything that we are experiencing right now in life, like with the pandemic and having to pivot. I think more so now it's staying relevant and staying safe at the same time. So it's just trying to make sure that we are still able to produce, income and keep people working and all of that.
Funniest thing I saw on the news, they had this mobile truck for manicures and pedicures where you just walk up and stick your hand in and I know
I did see that.
Yeah, that was so cool, right?
Yep, they pull up and you could put your arms in and get it done. Yes, I did see that. It was neat. Yeah. You got to get creative.
Exactly. And that's what this time is forcing people to do, which is amazing. So let's talk about elevation and separation.
Okay.
So we always hear that, your circle has to change when you start to, elevate in different areas of your life.
Yes.
So how would you say that this happened for you? One, when you decided to change your life completely, and then two, when you started a business and your business started to really, move in the direction that you wanted it to move in.
So that's really a part of it when you talk about like elevation and separate. I don't think I lost friends. I think I just learned how to expand my circle beyond people that knew me or were so familiar with me. What I found was if I had a new idea, people that knew me would be like, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Oh, you always come up with good ideas. Oh, yeah, you'll be fine. Like there's just like push off where, okay, well, yeah, that's just you. But when I had to get around people that when I started sharing my ideas, they started asking me more thought-provoking questions to help me get to that next level. So if I went to someone and say, you know what, I'm thinking about expanding into this market. If it were a friend or somebody close to me, they might say, okay, go for it. But when I changed my circle to people who were either at my level that I wanted to be or beyond, they would say, well, what market did you look into? How much research have you done? Well, here's a person that I'll introduce you to that can help you with that project. So that's really for me, it wasn't really about losing friends. It was just shifting what I call like my starting five. It's like having a basketball team with players on it. Different people you call for different areas of your life, and you got to have them in business as well.
Yeah, I saw something today where this lady talked about going to different conferences and, sometimes you don't have time to really have a conversation with somebody, but they give you a card. And then she said what she does is she emails these people like once a month and just does like a check-in, says, this is what I'm working on. This is what I'm excited about. What do you think about this? Just to kind of keep people in your circle because you never know how they can assist you in the future.
Absolutely. That's exactly the idea of it is you should be meeting new people all the time, and it's an exchange. What is it that you do and that they do, and how you can help each other. It's the strategic partnerships is what helped my business grow quickly as well.
Yeah. So let's talk about your book, I Was, I Am. I love that title, and I love
you.
the picture. So when did you write that book, and what did you pour into that book?
It didn't start out as a book. It started out as just my journal writings, where I started kind of digging into like, where did I come from? So I'm like, in order to, know how something operates and works, you got to kind of know where it originated from, and maybe come up with some instructions. And that was my whole idea. So I just started writing feelings from the very beginning of what I knew of my birth and my birth family and being adopted, and, moving into how I was treated as a child, and defining moments that kind of stood out to me my entire life of why I ended up down that path. So I wrote it some of it was already written without knowing that it was a part of a book. And then the other part I wrote while I was incarcerated, and then kind of put it together to split the book in half. Literally, this was the person that I learned everything about myself and still have embraced. And then I am is who I am now, and how all that got me to that point, and not going back.
Nice. So what is the one message that you want people to take away from this book if they pick it up and they decide to read it?
That it doesn't matter, where you've come from or what your background was or the challenges that you experienced, even if it was as a child or traumatic. Like, I want people to know that it is possible to create and live a life you love despite all of the things that you may have been through that impacted you negatively.
Yeah. Did you ever find your birth parents, or was that something you cared to do?
Yeah, well, my birth mother passed away when she was only 19 and I was 2. That was kind of how the foster care system started. So I have done some search for my father. I don't really have enough information to find him because they were so young, and all the people that were, that were around them at that time were a lot older than they were. But I did find my birth mother's sisters, and I connected with them, and, they're currently still in New York where I was born.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
At least you made some connection. Mm-hmm. Prison break coach. So what are you doing as a life coach in people's lives, and who seeks your help? Like, what kind of people come to your program?
Yeah, so the type of people that come to my program, I typically work with women who have struggled with some sort of life setback. And that's where the term prison break coach came from. Because when I was incarcerated, people think like breaking out of prison. I realized that I was in a mental prison long before I had ever, gotten into trouble or been in handcuffs based on where I was. So most of my clients are women who have suffered from some life setback. It could have been loss of a loved one. Maybe it's something that they can't get past or forgive. Maybe they're stuck in a job or want to start a business or failed in a business. Maybe it's a relationship that they want to reevaluate. I take people back to the core of their being so that they can remember, who they are and who they really want to be before all this stuff happened to them.
Okay. In the life coach arena, I know that it's like, there's a lot of people who do life coaching. Mm-hmm. What is your unique message, or how do you keep your program unique?
I think I keep my program unique by doing it in intimate group, so that other people learn from each other in the same area. So I'm really, it's more popular for me to do the group coaching with the intimate setting, with like 6 people, and then we go through the whole process together. I find that to be sort of the niche. It's not just I know everything, you know nothing. It's we all know something, and then together we can figure out how to help one another get there.
Yeah, I love that approach. That's great. So is that like what your prison break boot camp is like?
Yes. Typically, the prison break boot camp is something that's done live as well. But that is like you come in with the one thing that you want to change, and then you go through the tough stuff to get there.
Okay. So as an entrepreneur, what 3 things would you share with someone who wanted to start a business at some point?
I would say number 1 is to get crystal clear about what it is that you want to do. And basically you do that by identifying what problem you will solve. So whether you have a product or a service, if it's something that you're selling, you're solving a problem. So get crystal clear with what problem you solve with what it is that you do. I would say that's the first thing. The second thing is to really start exclusively focusing on what you want for that business. What is it that you want to see for that business to be successful, whether it's a financial goal, whether it's an impact goal, whether it's to leave a legacy, whatever that is, identify that and exclusively think about that when you think about your business. Don't think of all the things that you don't have, only think of the things that you do have. And number 3 would be pretty much some of the things that we're talking about today is knowing how you get there is by asking for the help that you need. Don't try to do it on your own. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. A lot of what we create has already been created in some way. Just don't feel bad about going to someone and asking for help.
Yes. Great advice. So you did a TEDx talk. Is it called TED Talk or TEDx or TED?
Yeah, TEDx is the local, in the local city. So I did a TEDx talk.
Okay. What was that experience like? And
it was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, because I had already, I was already speaking professionally, but there's something about memorizing a speech in a way where it doesn't sound like a lecture.
Right.
And doing it in under like 12 minutes.
Ooh.
So you got to make it all connect and bring it back to what is, this idea, this idea worth spreading. So I think that's what made it hard. It's like I can speak, but now I'm to memorize something so that it's more conversational. And then you have to come up with that one thing as, why is it so special? Why is it an idea worth spreading?
Right. So what advice would you give to anyone wanting to do a TEDx?
I would say get active in the TEDx community. Most cities have a local TEDx program, or even, look at places that are surrounding you. Go to a couple of talks, meet people, at those talks. You could even tell people that you're expressing interest in it, but learn everything about it and then just surround yourself with people that will get you closer to, when you want to apply, you'll have some support.
Okay. So do you feel like, you know what? Before I ask you that question, I wanted to ask you, what advice would you give to a young person who has been in and out of prison and is at their breaking point where they're tired and they want to do better? What would you tell them to do upon getting out and really starting to, reinvent themselves? I
would say the first thing I would say that a young person would have to do is to really find their own identity. What I learned was, even for myself when I was younger, I was exploring every option that everyone else thought I should be exploring. And I just continually disappointed myself, and I wasn't living up to what other people expected of me. I had to really figure out what it was that I wanted for my life, and it couldn't be for anyone else. So as a young person finding themselves in that position, if you're going to do it, it has to be for you. It can't be because your mom said so, because, you're regulated by law. Like, you got to really want it for yourself. And then take the necessary steps to get there.
Nice. So do you feel like you are doing purpose work? And if so, what specifically, and how does it feed your soul?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, it definitely does. I think it feeds my soul because it is my purpose. Once I found my way out of prison, mentally and physically, I knew that I had, it was my life's mission to help others get out of prison as well. And not just a physical prison, but the mental prison. So it's very fulfilling because I feel like it's such a great task, but it's like a simple opportunity that I take advantage of every day.
Nice. So do you actually work with, do you find yourself working with a lot of women who have been in prison, or?
I do, because I do volunteer work at the prisons locally. But most of my clients are women who have never been to prison, have never been arrested. Okay. They just want something in life and they want to know how to to get started to, like you said, to reinvent yourself or create that life that you love and find out how to do it.
So one last question about the coaching. So what do you find to be the one common theme with women and what stands in their way of them getting to that next level?
The common theme is the lack of clarity. People, most of the women that I talk to, they, you ask them what they want. It could be something so broad as, I just want to be happy, but they don't really know what it looks like. So I think that that's how they get in their own way, is because to fulfill anything, you have to be able to define it. And most women are unable to define what they really want because they've either forgotten or someone has told them so many times that what they wanted wasn't what they should want.
Makes sense. So I always ask my guests to share an oh hell no moment that has taught them something or changed their perspective on something. And we have oh hell no moments all the time. And that's a moment, shock, disbelief. It could be a positive moment or it could be a negative moment. So share a moment with us that has been, something that you have learned something from, that you take with you every day, or something that has changed the way you think about something.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to go back to standing in a courtroom with a judge, handcuffs and shackled. And he says, ma'am, your sentence is 7 years, basically. And I was turned down the request to get my affairs in order. He said, nope, your sentence starts today. So that literally was my, oh, hell no. Like,
right.
Like, this is not about to be my life for the next 7 years. You don't get to tell me that. And that was it. That was really my moment, the defining moment that changed my life, where I said, never again will I be in a position where someone else can basically determine where I'm going to live and for how long.
Wow. Did you do that entire 7 years?
No, I ended up being paroled after 2.5.
Thank God for that.
Yes.
All right. Well, please tell us where we can find out about your boot camp and your program, your coaching program, your books, and what else? Girl, you got so much stuff going on. And your spa. We want to know everything.
Right. Well, if you want to find me as the Prison Break Coach, that's easy. That's prisonbreakcoach.com. And all of my social media, you can connect to me through there. It's prisonbreakcoach.com. And the mobile spa is pamperperfectmobilespa.com.
Nice. It was such a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much.
It was such a pleasure. You were so amazing. Thank you for inviting me.
No problem.
Have you ever had that dream where you're trying to take your business remote and it's super confusing, but then you hear a Vonage ad for their team of remote business experts that you can just call and they can put a whole plan together so your business can easily work from anywhere? And on top of that, they can even sort you out with a video API that you can use to build video into your apps and websites? Have you ever had that dream? Well, now it's an actual real thing that you can do. You don't need to get into REM sleep anymore to make your business communication dreams come true. All you need to do is call Vonage. Now we're talking.